Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I have the 2017 Fire TV and I want to do a little review on it. So the packaging's nice, comes with your remote, batteries, power supply, USB cable. I mean, it's an all-in-one package for video playback. That's what it's marketed for. 4K video playback on your big screen TV. So the 4K video playback does work great on here. I have Netflix and I was watching some 4K stuff on my big screen TV. I also have Prime and there's some 4K available on there. On the front of the unit, there is one micro USB port. It will act as OTG, but not like you think. Here it is compared to the Fire Stick. And right now, I'm going to throw it out there. I prefer the new Fire Stick over the Fire TV any day. The new Fire TV only has 8 gigabytes of storage built in, and it only leaves you around 5.3 gigabytes of storage available to the user, so there's not a lot to work with. I do use an OTG adapter with a 32 gigabyte USB stick. Unfortunately, you cannot access the OTG storage through apps. The 2017 Fire Stick allows you to use this OTG storage to store games on it and everything like that, and you can access it through third-party apps. With this, you cannot. But it does work with mice, Ethernet adapters, and all kinds of other USB devices. As for specs, it's really not that impressive. Thousands of $25 Android TV boxes use the same CPU. It's a quad-core Amlogic S905Z with 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. The last Fire TV that came out was way more powerful than this. The benchmarks were better, and if you wanted to do some emulation, it did a lot of it really great. So this thing is very tiny and these little chips do get hot. So I wanted to take it apart and see what was in here. I went ahead and took the shell off of it. So the top just snaps right off and the CPU is actually cooled by a sheet metal plate. It's not aluminum and it's put together really well. I was wondering about the performance when this thing was cooled correctly because I know it does get hot. This is the S905Z. And when these little ARM CPUs reach a certain temperature, the manufacturer puts a failsafe in there to downclock the speed. It will make the unit slower, but it'll run cooler. So I did what anybody would do. I put this on my water cooling setup. Now I built this a few days ago. I did a video on it. This is my little water cooling station for ARM boards, single board computers, Android TVs, and things like that. So this chip is cooled to the max. It will not throttle the CPU. And the score in Antutu was 34,260. 3D score was 2,442. I was almost 100% sure that this thing would throttle inside of the case that Amazon provided, but I was definitely wrong. This is the score with it back in the case. We don't see much of a difference at all. I've dealt with a lot of these S905 Android boxes, and the performance is okay for video playback. Some older emulators work, and some native Android games. We're going to move over to the operating system now and see how this thing performs. Alright, so after running those benchmarks, I was hoping to get OTG storage working, and it does work, but it doesn't work inside of apps. So if I go to ES File Explorer, I do have my OTG cable hooked up, and I can go up to my USB. I'm going to allow once. This is a 32 gigabyte USB 2.0 drive. I can access this USB drive from here. But if I want to store, let's say, ROMs or videos on an external drive, I'm just going to go to RetroX real quick. And on the Fire Stick, the new Fire Stick, I can access my USB drive from right here. I'll just press back. I'll go to Manage Games, add a folder for a game, and I'll just choose 3DO. Doesn't show up in the list. So OTG storage is not available through apps on the Amazon Fire TV, which is a real bummer. But it does play PS1 pretty well. I do have a PS1 game on the internal storage. I just transferred it using ES File Explorer. Mice do work. This is a mouse here, but it doesn't work on the main menu. I'm going to just start up Bloody Roar 2 for PlayStation 1. I'm using a G3S controller, and it works really well. So here we are booting up.
Bloody Roar 2, the new breed. Alice the rabbit, Hugo the wolf.
So it runs PlayStation 1 pretty well, and that tells me that it's going to run everything except for N64, PSP, or Dreamcast. You'll be able to play Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, SNES, NES, PC Engine, Neo Geo, Final Burn Alpha. All the good games you'll be able to play with no trouble at all, but you'll be limited on storage. I did try to connect this to my home network. I have some games on a NAS setup. It does not connect. I can't connect to Google Drive or OneDrive, so that's pretty much out of the question, at least on this update for the Amazon Fire TV. One thing it does have going for it is Netflix 4K and your 4K Prime, I guess. It does a great job with 4K playback like this. I didn't even install Kodi on it. The benchmarks were so low for the 3D graphics and the CPU itself. I'm actually going to return this unit and stick with my Fire Stick. So overall, I understand that they made this for video playback and it does a great job. Netflix in 4K, Prime in 4K. You get the regular YouTube app, but you can't get 4K video in this either. I mean, that's about it for this video. That's all I can really say for this unit. I prefer the Amazon Fire Stick over this. Even though the Fire Stick doesn't have as much power as the Fire TV, I mean, they're neck and neck right there, even in the benchmarks. You know, this does score a little bit higher in Antutu, but they're so close, for me, it doesn't even matter. If you're interested in getting an Android TV, I definitely suggest getting the Nvidia Shield Android TV. It is $199 with a controller, but it's so worth it. You have access to external storage. You can play pretty much any emulator you throw at it. It does 4K beautifully, and it does 4K 60 FPS through Kodi. Overall, I'm not impressed. For 70 bucks, I think they should have done a better job, or at least charge only $39.99 for this unit. If you're interested in picking one of these up, I'm going to leave links down below. I'm also going to leave links to the Amazon Fire Stick, the new version, and the Nvidia Shield Android TV. In my opinion, the Nvidia is the best Android TV box on the market to this day. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you could, hit that like button and subscribe. And like always, thanks for watching.